Ray, good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing good, man.
Welcome to Bellator.
Yeah, man, it's good to be here. I'm excited.
Talk to me about that. You know, a lot of years in the competition, and then a few fights elsewhere, and now you're back on the big stage again. So tell me a little bit about just kind of your feelings going into a new environment and kind of getting the feel for Bellator for the first time.
You know, it's great. You know, I've been in the sport a long time. You know, fought at, a very high level for quite a while, fought some great competition. So, it kind of feels just getting right back into the mix. Bellator's great. It's been really good, great staff and all that. So at the end of the day, it's all the same, still a fight.
Did you have other options that you were looking at? And if so, what made Bellator stand apart from everybody else?
Yeah, there was a couple options on the table, but I went with Bellator because, at the end of the day, I'm not really in this business to just, rack up all these regional wins or, random promotion wins. I'm in this business to beat the best that there is. That's one thing I was very fortunate with, outside of my UFC run, is getting paired up with great competition. That's one thing I didn't want to do, is I didn't want to go backwards in pay, and I didn't want to go backwards in competition. Mainly the competition. So Bellator really kind of struck me because, it's the lighter weights here are just really developing really well, and they're probably some of the highest level dudes in the world, and that's who I wanted to compete against. You,
they didn't give you a gimme right out of the gate. They, just like you're saying, you wanted good competition. They set you up with a former champ, right? So, talk to me about the matchup and how important it was to be able to have a big name like that and not just be kind of like maybe a regional talent that's coming in here for the first time.
Yeah, honestly, I would have been kind of bummed if they didn't give me someone like Horiguchi. Like I said, I've been in the sport a long time. I fought some really high level competition, and the fact that me and Horiguchi hadn't even fought in the past to begin with was surprising. So I couldn't have asked for a better opportunity to make my Bellator debut against, Horiguchi. He's a great fighter. He's been in the sport a long time. He's a veteran as well. And, I just think it's a great matchup.
You also are here with your debut in the promotion on maybe the biggest fight in your division in the history of the company, because it's the tournament final and all that. So you've got names that you're going to have to think about in the future that are right here with you this weekend. So talk to me a little bit about, you win this week. That there's going to be a while before the title picture is settled. So do you feel like this is a shot to get one right out of the gate, get a couple more, and by the time the belts are unified, suddenly you're right there in the title picture?
Yeah, I don't see why this fight, winning this fight wouldn't throw me right in that mix, or, what, no matter what happens, I don't really know what's going to happen, but, I don't see why winning this fight wouldn't catapult me to, the front of the line, or at least close to the front of the line. So, there's some good fights this weekend in terms of those divisions, but, right now I have my eyes set on Horiguchi, and then we'll worry about all that later.
Obviously, divisional talk. You've been around, Ray. You've competed 135, 125, the best in the world, all over the world. I've been covering you for a while, and I know you always get questions on weight, so I don't want to ask that. You're a pro. You know what's up. But can I ask you about the decision as far as weight classes go? Was this something Bellator offered? Obviously, Bellator, Horiguchi. What's not to dislike about that, to your point? But did you have intentions on perhaps giving a flyweight another try in the future regardless? Or what's your stance on that?
Yeah, that was always, it was one of those weird situations considering my track record and my history with, weights and all that. 25 has always been on the back of my mind. That's kind of why I got in the sport. That's, what I'd set out to do was be, 125-pound champion. But, things change, and, I like 35 as well. So 25 wasn't ever out of the question. It was always on the table, but, I've made a home at 35 for, the last 4 or so years. So Bellator offered me this fight, and I just take what I'm given. It was a great opportunity, great opponent, and it was one of those things that I didn't want to say no to.
Awesome. And sticking on preparation, I remember interviewing you before your world title fight with DJ at this weight, and you said hunting and game meat was kind of a way to help your diet and whatnot. Just curious, do you still do any hunting or at least incorporate any game meat into the diet for these weight classes?
I haven't really incorporated a whole lot of game meat into my diets, mainly because New Mexico, where I'm from, has like a really weird hunting, well, not weird, but they have, a hunting draw. So when, you put in, you draw, and unfortunately I've had no luck, so I can't even, get my own game meat unless I have a relative that wants to give it to me. But no, I've just been, just casual dieting.
Sure, yeah, those gaming tags, I know what you mean. But as far as prepping for the inside the fight and that game, so to speak, can you tell us who you're training with, where you're training with? Obviously, some New Mexico names that people recognize and respect, like John Dotson, but up-and-comers, coaches, location, what's been going on?
Yeah, so I've been doing everything out of Smart Jits Academy. My jiu-jitsu coach, Rafael Freitas, is, an amazing coach, a really, renowned jiu-jitsu coach. And, we've been doing everything out of there. John Dotson's been a huge help for this camp. I also have my wrestling coach, Kino Veneer, my striking coach, Ryan Cafaro. So I've put together a really solid team for this camp.
And last one from me, obviously Horiguchi is the name we're focused on. Obviously you guys have shared some venues as far as like prior promotions. Is he a guy that's name's been on your list, or do you kind of like not focus until there's a contract in front of you?
It was always a name that was on my list of guys who I thought I would potentially fight. To be honest, Sergio Pettis was higher on the list than what Horiguchi was, just because, timeline-wise, we were just right there neck and neck the entire time. But, Horiguchi kind of faded on my mind just because it just really seemed like a fight that was never going to happen. And then, here we are X amount of years later, and, the sport's unpredictable, and we're going to make a fun fight.